Hello and welcome to a special edition of the DitsOnWrestling podcast today. It is the debut of DOW Tag Topics. So this means that I get a tag team partner on board because I'm bored of doing this on my own. I need somebody to bounce off of. So I bring in a tag team partner and we just talk about wrestling. No wrestling topic is off limits. And today we are talking all about the Wildcard Rule, its ups and its many downs. This week, my tag team partner, my first tag team partner, is none other than Josh Robinson of the Wrestling Reverb podcast and the Diving In with Josh podcast. Really looking forward to what you guys have to say about this episode today. This is something I haven't done before. Completely new. Usually I guest on other people's podcasts, but today I take the lead. Kind of. Josh talks a lot. I mean, he talks a lot. But it's good. I'm glad he talks a lot because there's a lot of time to fill. And there's a lot to be said about the Wildcard Rule as well. But, you know, Josh is over there waiting for me. I'm not going to hold off any longer. He's probably looking at the clock and going, God, hurry the fuck up. That's right. This is a swearing podcast today. Explicit content is here. It's outside of my weekly stuff, so swearing is on the cards. But not that it should be the be all and end all. But let's get into it. Here we go. Wildcard Rule, Tag Topics, me and Josh Robinson, break it down. Let's get into it. So here we go. We have a first for the DitsOnWrestling podcast today because we actually have somebody tag teaming with me today. I'm not going solo. It gets boring listening to me on my own, so I need to drag somebody in, especially given the topic that we're going to talk about today, which is surrounded in negativity. I'm a negative person. I can find negativity in everything, but sometimes I like to share out. Somebody needs to take grasp of that and just eat from the palm of my hands, eat my negativity, because I'm a sharer. I don't like to hog. So today, and he's my first guest on the DitsOnWrestling podcast, so I'm pretty sure he's ecstatic about that. I've got Josh Robinson with me. Hello, Josh.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm very well.
Nighttime, I guess, in your land.
For you.
It's morning.
So yeah, how are we doing?
I'm doing really well. I'm, again, ecstatic to be here for your first guest. Honored, yeah. I guess would be the word.
Now, before we get into things, just as a little background for those who don't know who you are, they should, but if they don't know who you are, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am Josh. I am from the land down under, as if you can't tell by my accent. I am from Australia. I have a show called Wrestling Reverb, which is part of Brainbuster Radio. And then I have a show called Diving In, which is a wrestling podcast, but it's focused on pro wrestling. I'm just a little wrestling nerd, I guess you'd say, like we all are. But yeah, I love wrestling. I love talking about wrestling. And I guess on the contrast to you, I can pretty much extract the positive from pretty much any wrestling situation. So this should be fun.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I can find the positives in a lot of things. Like, I enjoyed Raw last week. I don't think many of us did.
I did. I liked it
for
what it was. I mean, it wasn't like the greatest Raw ever, but from what we've been getting, it was okay.
There we go. Like-minded. That's why you're here.
Yeah.
There we go. So today, as I alluded to in the intro, we're going to be talking about the Wildcard Rule, the joyous thing that is keeping us glued to WWE TV every single week. Yeah. So, Josh, just general thoughts. What do you think about the Wildcard Rule?
Okay, so here's what I say about the Wildcard Rule is that with a brand split, I prefer a brand split. I've always been one to think there should be Raw and SmackDown or whatever we're considering. There should be a brand split with the amount of just bodies on the roster. There's so many people within the main roster, so there should be a brand split. However, if really that what they want to do is not have a brand split, then fine. don't have a brand split. But there really, for me, there shouldn't be a gray area in between. You can either do the brand split or not. There's no in between for that. It's just a mess, especially considering how close the Superstar shakeup was beforehand. It was like, okay, so that is kind of redundant. And now we're just having people. They said there was a rule of 4 people. Every week they seem to break their own rule. I think even Tom Phillips on SmackDown last week called out the fact that they were breaking their own rule. It's like, if you're calling out the fact that you're breaking your own rule, maybe there shouldn't be the rule in the first place.
Yeah, see, I'm glad you mentioned the Superstar shakeup, because I was only thinking about this earlier. Like, you have the brand split, and it's like you said, it's there for a reason. We get to see people who you might not get to see if the rosters are combined, because there's too much talent for, to spread around everywhere. And, key players are then doing their bits on both shows. So brand splits, Seth Rollins can be Seth Rollins on Raw. He doesn't have to double down and do things over on SmackDown, or Daniel Bryan can do his thing on SmackDown, not have to worry about going on to Raw, which funnily enough he is doing later today. It completely undermines the Superstar shakeup. And the fact that it was 2 weeks afterwards as well, because I had a lot of gripes when it came to the Superstar shakeup, because even those, they never follow their own rules. So you had the Superstar shakeup over, a couple of days. And then a week later, they're still doing it, even though it was advertised as here is your 2-day thing. Yeah. And then it's done. And then I'd say that even 2 weeks down the road, they were still adding people. They go, the Good Brothers are now part of Raw, part of the Superstar shakeup. It was 2 weeks ago. Why are you bringing it up now?
I don't get it, because the thing about the brand split and the Superstar shakeup in general is, I don't know about you, but I look forward to that after Mania. I'm like, okay, we're going to see some fresh faces on some other shows. And, for someone, let's take, who got Bayley. Okay, Bayley got moved from Raw to SmackDown, and you go, okay, Bayley is a staple on Raw. She's been on Raw since the brand split basically started. Bayley was a mainstay of Raw, so she moves to SmackDown, and you go, okay, this is a fresh start for it's a fresh look on the SmackDown women's division, and then it's also a fresh start for Bayley. She gets a little bit of a little bit of resurgence. She can start fresh, so start again on SmackDown, and then you look forward. You go, okay, if I want to watch Bayley, I have to watch SmackDown. So on Raw, I can get some other girls, some other people, and go, okay, I'm looking forward to Raw for this reason. But then 2 weeks later, you're like, the Wildcard Rule is now a thing, and it's like, so I can see Bayley on Raw still? Why would I want? There's no, from a character standpoint, there's no reason. This isn't just pertaining to Bayley, but there's no reason for Bayley having a fresh start other than she's now the champion, but she's on both shows anyway. So what's the difference? Like, there's no difference between the shows.
Now, I'm going to contradict myself right now, because I'm going to throw something positive out there. I'm not completely negative. When this thing first came about, and you had Roman Reigns teased that he was going to come onto Raw because he had unfinished business, whatever that unfinished business was. I don't even think it was revealed in the end, because he beat Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania. He didn't need to go back to Drew at all. So he didn't need to go on Raw. But he teased it, and then obviously WWE played up to it, and he showed up on Raw. But then so did Kofi, so did Daniel Bryan, and then you had Vince then just suddenly off the cuff declare himself as a genius and come up with this wildcard rule in the space of 5 seconds, which I'm sure it's not that way, but even from the outside looking in as fans, it does seem like Vince was stood in that ring and just went, yeah, fuck it, we'll go with the wildcard rule. It sounds like good shit.
Yeah, no joke.
But I remember watching that Raw, and I think it was a week after the Superstar shakeup. I might be wrong, it might be 2 weeks. I remember watching it, that opening segment, and I saw that people shat all over it. But I actually really enjoyed it, because I was sat there thinking, I know it's a desperate plea for ratings. Like, that is obvious. The chance to see, Seth Rollins on 2 shows instead of 1. That might be appealing to quite a lot of people, especially people that can only watch one of the 2 shows for whatever reason. So I could see the appeal in it. But I remember watching it and thinking, this could actually be really good. So you've had the superstar shakeup. People have moved around. So you've got fresh matches from that. I mean, that's a criticism. Like, we'll get into that. But you've got fresh matches from the superstar shakeup alone. But you're going to add even more fresh matchups by, say, allowing, like, Eric Young. Like, if he's not doing anything on Raw because, you've got so many people in front of him, he can just show up on SmackDown. He'll probably lose whatever match he's in. He'll be the enhancement. He'll be the jobber. But he's on TV. So when I was looking at it, I was like, that's a possibility. We can, there's so many people that don't get TV time. And straight away, I was like, this could be the fix that sorts it. They don't have to take over the other brand, but they can have a place on it and get some TV time. So they don't have to rely on main event. So I was actually optimistic. But then that same night, after Vince declared that Raw can go to SmackDown and then SmackDown can go to SmackDown, botching his own fucking promo. And then an hour later declaring that, in fact, 4 superstars can move between the shows rather than 3, I lost interest in it more or less straight away, just thinking that the superstar shakeup was a complete fuck up. Yeah. And now, in the space of 2 hours of Vince announcing this thing, he's fucked it up again.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. Did you feel even the shred of positivity about it when it was announced? Even if it's a reach.
Listen, honestly, I'm usually the one that's like, no, this is going to be great. This is going to be this. Not even, I was like, this, if I would have probably looked at it a little bit differently if the Superstar Shakeup was 6 months ago.
Yes.
And when we have a wild card and we'll go, okay, this is some, freshness. And then, I can see where this is going. It's just, ultimately, this is going to be the end of the brand split. I think going into SmackDown, moving into Fridays in October, with the big Fox deal, I think this is ultimately the, nail in the coffin. I think this is going to be the end of the brand split, which is whatever. Like I said, if they want to end it, end it. I prefer it with a brand split, but if you want to end it, just end it and let's just cut some titles down and build around that. But I think this is what if it was 6 months ago that the Superstar Shakeup was, and we actually needed some freshness, instead of allowing Raw and SmackDown to kind of, grow with some new talent that got moved around, they were just like, we didn't like what we did, so let's do the Wildcard Rule and go from there. But if it was 6 months ago, I probably would have looked at it with different eyes and gone, okay, I kind of in need of some fresh matchups and stuff like that. But what I don't like the most about the Wildcard Rule, it's not even the actual rule itself, is the fact that the 4 or 6 people that are showing up on the shows are the same 4 or 6 people that are showing up on every show. Like, Sami Zayn has been a part, I think, of every single SmackDown since the shakeup. Like, he has been a wild card on SmackDown every single week. Roman's a part of a lot of it. Whoever else it may be. But Sami is the one that comes to mind. You're just like, dude, I love Sami Zayn. Don't get me wrong. Oh my God, I love Sami Zayn. But I don't want to see him every Raw and SmackDown, because absence makes the heart grow fonder, and if you're seeing someone all the time, you get sick of them. Yeah,
definitely. And I'm exactly the same. I love Sami to death, especially since he's come back from injury.
Yeah,
like this whole condescending prick gimmick that he's got going on.
It's just great.
Hatred of the fans and these quirky little dances that he does. By the way, that referee one he did last week.
Oh my God.
I fell in love with him.
You get so many great gifts from Sami Zayn, and why, not to go off topic too much, but you know why Sami Zayn works so well is because he's going after us, because we know we are that. We are horrible. Wrestling fans suck. We all suck. I suck. I know I can be exactly what he's saying. Maybe not to the full extent, but we know we've all been in those situations where we're exactly what he's saying, and he's so right. I applaud him. I'm like, yes, he's great. And the more we applaud him, the more he's just like, you are all just idiots. Yeah. And it's great. He just works. It's just, I love it. And he plays it really well, which is really weird, because 4 or 5 years ago, or 3 years ago even, I would not have said that about Sami Zayn. I'd be like, no, he's a babyface through and through. He's the ultimate kind of babyface. And then he turns it up and you're like, wow, you're an actual dick.
Yeah. I say Sami Zayn is definitely a 2019 highlight for me. so far.
Oh yeah.
And there's
yeah.
more to come, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, so when we were talking about the superstar shake-up and the effects it has, and like the freshness of it all, if it did have that 6-month gap, I think you're absolutely right. It would, the wildcard rule would be a bit more acceptable. But when it came out, I saw a lot of people say that the whole premise of the wildcard rule was simply just to tease a brand split, just to see how we would all react to it. Mm-hmm. And it's very rare when I scroll through my Twitter timeline and I see anybody say anything positive about it or anything good. I mean, this whole podcast episode is shitting on the wildcard rule.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of other people doing it as well. So I feel like they wanted to tease the brand split and people just haven't been willing to accept it. I'm exactly the same as you. I do not want to see a combined roster again. I think it limits so much of the talent.
Yeah.
And with the wildcard rule, we're seeing exactly that.
Yep.
So I don't know why WWE just haven't opened their eyes or opened their ears and just kind of gone, look, this isn't working. We need to just save face and drop. I mean, WWE drops stuff, at the click of a finger.
Any other time they would drop this. Any other time they would drop a storyline with no explanation, would be like, what? And then they just go on and, a week goes past, 2 weeks goes past, and you're okay, that's the end of that. I don't know. Please, for the love of God, the one time we want you to just drop something with no explanation, just drop it. Like, the wild card just... Look, Alexa Bliss is going for a SmackDown championship at Stomping Grounds. And she's a Raw superstar. So, why in the... can I swear?
Yeah, you can crack on.
Why in the fuck is this happening? Like, why? I don't understand how. I have no problem with Alexa Bliss going for a championship. It is not even near that. If you want to put her in the title picture, go ahead. Bliss is fine to me. But she is Raw going for a SmackDown championship. In what world does that make any sense with wildcard rule or not? Like, she's a Raw superstar fighting for a SmackDown championship. I just don't understand that.
Yeah, I'm not a fan, especially when you consider the women that are on SmackDown. So you got Ember Moon, you've got I know they're in a tag team, but you got Asuka, you got Kairi Sane, Mandy, all of like so much talent.
There's literally Mandy, Sonya, Ember, Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan hasn't even been on SmackDown since she got drafted to SmackDown. Like, she has not been a part of. Like, you say, like, all these things, like, people are like, oh my God, they shouldn't have broke up the Riot Squad. There's a fucking wildcard rule. Why can't she just be with Sarah Logan on Raw? I don't understand that. Like, they say all these teams are breaking up, but it's like, she could literally appear on Raw. So why not just have her there? If you're going to really utilize the wildcard rule, utilize it. Like, it's not like Sarah Logan is doing anything without Ruby Riott. Put her with Liv. Give Liv something to do.
And... This goes back to undermining because the superstar shakeup. You moved Liv to SmackDown. You broke up. I mean, not many. I saw a few people that weren't too keen on the Riot Squad. Personally, I thought they were great for what they were. All three talented girls. And I was, why have you split them up? Like, they were perfect. Like, if you're trying to push a baby, yeah, exactly. They were a solid unit, a solid heel unit. And if you wanted to push a baby face, you just threw the Riot Squad at them, and that's not to put down their status on the roster or whatever.
But that was their role.
Yeah, but they were effective.
They never got destroyed. They always worked well as a unit. And you look at the women's division. When has there ever really been? I mean, apart from the whole Divas Revolution thing when there was a 3-team, but an actual 3-team, a 3-member unit that just kind of was that heel base that you look at Ronda and Ronda's time coming up to WrestleMania, her year, she went through the Riot Squad and they gave her some really... Ruby and Ronda, I remember having a really solid match, I think in the main event of Raw, leading up to WrestleMania, and they actually had a fairly decent match. Sarah Logan, Liv Morgan, and Ruby Riott, all are really good, talented women that I think benefited from being together. Well, they did, because you look at them now, and Liv's not even on the show. Sarah Logan, I think, has been wrestling on Main Event. but they're not doing anything of value. I know Ruby's hurt, but sorry to go on a tangent about the Riot Squad, but I was always a fan of the Riot Squad. They didn't get enough credit, I don't think. You look at their match at Evolution and stuff like that, they were a team that you should look at as go, okay, those three worked better together.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And by the way, tangents. You know me, Josh. I go off on tangents all the fucking time. So if you want a tangent, go ahead. It doesn't. I will happily talk about anything. You just crack on. Yes, on the subject of Liv, I don't know if they're doing it now because obviously live event loops and the cards always change and stuff like that. But I saw that. I think that on the live event shows they were showing Bayley, obviously SmackDown Women's Champion, versus Ember Moon versus Liv Morgan.
Yeah,
and that was the match that they were broadcasting for the women on SmackDown live events for the title.
Yeah,
and you look at that and you go, right, so why is that not translating over to TV? Because when I saw that, I genuinely popped for it. I was like, Ember Moon is it's a live event, but titles have changed hands on live events before. Yes. Ember Moon is in a title match. Liv Morgan is in a title match. But in reality, like you said, we've got a Raw superstar coming over to SmackDown, taking their spots.
Yeah,
it just
and
seems.
It's not even Bliss. Like I said, it's not a knock on Bliss because Bliss is a top tier talent. But this is another thing: is that WWE rely on their top tier talents too much. They are in a time, WWE, where they need to take some risks. We all want the product to be amazing, and we know it can be because the talent's there. Yeah. The problem with WWE is not the in-ring aspect. They're putting on matches, probably you could debate that they're putting on the best matches they ever have, in a consistent time frame. We're always getting a good match on Raw in some way, shape, or form. SmackDown the same. Pay-per-views, I think we're still always getting really good in-ring product. The pay-per-view WWE stuff is always better than Raw and SmackDown. You can watch a pay-per-view and go, okay, we know this is going to be good. We know this is going to be good. And you're entertained. I will debate that with anybody. Pay-per-views are still up to par. But WWE need to take some risks. They need to develop some new stars. Like, I know we're talking about Bliss and Bayley a lot, but it's just an easy subject to go to. You look at Bliss, okay? Bliss is someone that you can put in a title match and it's important. I get that. Don't get me wrong. But Bayley is also someone now that they need to take a chance on doing that because they really haven't with Bayley. She's always been kind of, if you look at the top tier talent, she may have just been just a tiny fraction underneath. She wins Money in the Bank. She wins the SmackDown Women's Championship. And this is my chance for me as a fan to go, okay, let's see what Bayley can do with some other talent to elevate them. You put her in there with someone like Liv. I know Ember Moon is a great in-ring talent, but on the main roster, she hasn't done really too much. She hasn't. So she needs an opportunity to get in there with someone and go, for fans, casual and, people like us, to go, hey, Ember's really good. When she gets her time to shine, she's going to be great. It's not about winning the championship. Sometimes you can look better in defeat than you can in a victory. Mm-hmm. So Liv, Ember, Mandy, Sonya, the list goes on and on. You put them in there with people like Bayley to get them, to elevate them. And then you look on Raw and you've got Becky working with Lacey. They're doing that in that respect. Lacey hasn't had too much of a chance really to go out there and, other than her Money in the Bank match with Becky, she hasn't really done a lot. So they're doing that on Raw. And I don't think people are very quick to judge Lacey Evans. I'm a fan of Lacey Evans. A lot of people aren't, but take away my fandom for Lacey is that they're trying something so in a year's time, Lacey can be in that spot and be helping the people that are coming up from NXT. So you have to take chances. You can't just rest on the fact that you've got talent like Bayley, like Alexa. You have to elevate other talent. You put two top tier talents, it's fine for big matches, but on a B show like Stomping Grounds, this is when you should be taking your chances.
And I don't think they've got anything to lose either. I mean, one, it's just throwing some, I don't want to say inexperience because Lacey's, she's been wrestling for 3 or 4 years. I mean, I guess
inexperienced in the terms of big fight feels.
Yeah. I mean, I'm like you. I quite like Lacey. I think in ring, she's got a lot a lot to learn. She's got a long way to go.
Yeah.
But that's not a knock on her. Like, you can't just come in. Like, not everybody can be a natural, you know.
No.
But her promo work
Oh my
is
God. No
fantastic.
one gives that girl credit. She is really good at talking, and she has a look, she has a presence that she is someone that you, as much as people say she sucks or she everyone hates her, no one's turning away from the lady. Like, she is very, very good at talking and captivating. And I don't care what anyone says, a look, whether it's, whatever it is, there is a look in WWE. You have to have a certain, they still have an appeal of some kind. It's not all, black and white kind of look. There is very flows of and of what a look is, but she does have a look that captivates people, and she does look like a star. She looks the part. Like you said, Lacey has got a lot of room to grow in the ring, but that's only going to take more experience in these big fight situations like Becky to give her that kind of go, okay, I know what to do in this situation. Lacey's got a lot to learn, but she's got a hell of a ton of potential.
I'm going to throw something positive at you here. Yeah.
Please.
So, again, this is the whole thing. I didn't have any aim of praising the wildcard rule in any way, shape, or form, but just talking about Lacey then. For people like her, for the ones just coming up from NXT, or, I mean, a lot of the NXT guys, have been doing, work on the indies for so long, but the guys who are just straight to the PC, they do whatever they need to do there, onto the NXT TV, and then they get called up. So like Baron Corbin, your Lacey Evans, all them kind of people.
Yeah.
For them, the wildcard rule works, because if they'll have their time on Raw, but they're getting more experience if they also go to SmackDown. Obviously not all the time, because then you have the Sami Zayn effect where it just becomes too much. And you've got these new people coming through that you're just pushing. And then we're fickle as wrestling fans. We just get sick and tired of too much of the same thing. But I think if it was managed correctly, which doesn't happen with WWE, but if it was managed correctly, the experience that they would get from this wildcard rule, I think, would be beneficial to them. But that's me reaching out there for a positive to say about it. But I do think that Lacey would benefit, because on SmackDown she's getting to work with Charlotte, she's getting to work with Bayley, and then on Raw obviously she's in a feud with Becky, and Natalia on there as well. So she's got two locations and two sets of different types of experience when it comes to everything, like in ring promos, whatever it is. She can lean on so many more people because of this wildcard rule, because they must, I don't know what the travel is like for people on the wildcard rule. They obviously they go off and do their own Raw thing or SmackDown thing, whatever show they're on. But when it comes to, by the way, you're going on SmackDown tomorrow, I don't know if they end up traveling with SmackDown people or they just go with the other wildcards. I don't know how it works, but
I don't know either.
If it was a case of, Lacey going over to SmackDown with another female wrestler off of Raw who is established, just in that travel time alone, you'd learn a lot through that as well. I mean, this really is me reaching for a positive, but I think that is something that you can take away from it, just for the greener people rather than the established. I mean, the established people, the whole thing's a joke, but I think for green people, it could be beneficial. Yeah.
No, I get you in that sense a lot, because you're getting more experience. You look at, and not only that, a lot of times you listen to wrestlers on podcasts from WWE and they say the atmosphere between Raw and SmackDown is two very different worlds. They say Raw is a lot more chaotic. Things are changing on the fly, where SmackDown, I think, is a little bit, not set in stone. Things are probably still, but it's a little bit calmer. So you see the two different kind of how they work and they go from a 3-hour show to a 2-hour show. So in that aspect, yes, I agree with you completely. But just to kind of, even for those people that, like Baron, like Lacey and whatever, the thing that out of everything with the wildcard rule, the thing that really pisses me off the most is that there's no continuity between Raw and SmackDown and the people on them. You have Alexa Bliss a couple of weeks ago with Nikki Cross beating up the Iconics, and it looks like, okay, Bliss and Nikki are going to be the ones to go for the tag titles. And then the very next night on SmackDown, there is no talk about that, and Bliss is the number one contender for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Why? Why is there no continuity between the two shows? Like, okay, if you're going to have people who appear on both, maybe have their, at least allude to the fact that this was happening, but now, okay, like, we're going in. There's no talk of it. It was just a thing, and now Bliss and Nikki are no longer working with the Iconics. Now Bliss is working with Bayley, and they've kind of shoved Nikki into that role as well.
Yeah, and I mean, it goes back to Sami Zayn as well. He's on SmackDown. He's in this feud with the New Day, and obviously he's teaming with Kevin Owens. But then you go over to Raw. He's doing his own shtick of attacking the fans, but then he's also backing up Baron Corbin now, and it's just like, why? There is no need to put Sami on Raw, put him in that storyline, but then over on SmackDown, just completely ignore what you did the night before, because tonight you're focusing on this. Instead of doing that, pick somebody on the roster who perhaps hasn't had that much TV time recently. You just go, right, do you want to come out? I mean, obviously you wouldn't say, do you want? You say you're fucking doing it, but they jump at the chance if you just said, right, because you're going to be in the opening segment with Baron Corbin. You're just going to shit all over Seth Rollins, but you're on TV. And they'd be like,
the wildcard rule should be for people that aren't in a story to go to the other show and enhance someone else's story.
Yeah, perfect.
Not someone that's in a story to go to the other show and enhance their story, but also ignoring the fact that you're in another story on Raw, but still trying to make yourself look strong in that story. But really, the wild card is coming over to the other show to lose.
Yeah. And that's what they are. It'd be glorified enhancement in reality. But it would
really
work.
Is. And I'm not saying a loss is a bad thing, because it isn't. But at the same time, when you're trying to build another story, I watch everything WWE puts out for the main roster. That's including 205 Live, NXT. The only thing I don't watch of WWE's is NXT UK, because there's only so much time in a day. There's only so much time I have in a week to watch wrestling. And that's not even including everything else that's going on in wrestling at the moment with AEW. And I know there's a big kind of a push behind New Japan and stuff at the moment. And I'm trying to spread my wings, I guess. But the only thing I don't watch of WWE's product, and that's not saying I don't keep tabs on it, is NXT UK. I know what's going on and I watch what I need to watch. But so I watch everything. So I know what's going on, Raw, SmackDown. And okay, say what you will, WWE is presented to a casual fan. They want new eyes. I definitely understand that, and I watch from a casual fan's perspective as much as I can. However, we're still a part of your audience. This is the thing with WWE and wrestling or anything in general. Don't insult my intelligence.
Yeah.
Do not do that, because it pisses me off to my core. Like, just allude to, all you have to say is, this happened and I'm happy. You don't even have to explain anything. Just say, this happened on Raw, this is going on with Sami Zayn, and now he's here. There's just no continuity. There's no connecting the lines to the dots at this point.
Unless it's Shane.
Yeah. Sorry, Shane McMahon is the exception, because Shane is everywhere and he's doing everything on every fucking show. And I'm not a Shane McMahon hater. I don't even hate Shane McMahon. I just hate that it's the same person always there. Isn't there 4 members of the McMahon regime? Why can't we have Stephanie show up on SmackDown, or Stephanie show up on Raw, instead of Shane being... He's the only real authority figure on the show, really. Like, Triple H is barely there. Yeah, I haven't seen Stephanie since before Mania. Vince is there sparingly, and Shane is there, 700 hours of TV time. I'm surprised he's not on all the other shows and just showing up just to show up. And it's not even that he's wrestling on all of these shows. Like, it's taken away the Shane McMahon specialty, Yeah. Shane's wrestling, it's important. Now he's just wrestling. He's just he's a body.
He is the best booked wrestler in WWE at the moment, and he is the ultimate wild card.
He beat Roman. He beat Miz twice. He's in a feud with. Hey, Roman Reigns is probably still the number one dude in the company, if not one of. Even without a title, he's very important, and he loses. It's not like Roman doesn't lose, but it really, it has to matter. I didn't watch Super Showdown. All I know is that Shane won by some form of shenanigans, but
Yeah.
he still won. It's still in the record books that Shane McMahon beat Roman Reigns.
I mean, I could do an entire podcast episode on Shane and my thoughts on it all. I mean, like you, I like Shane, but I like him in small quantities.
Yeah.
So if he can wrestle once a year, I'm okay with that. Maybe twice, I'm okay with that, but not. I don't want to see him wrestle like 6 times a year.
I don't want to see him on Raw and SmackDown wrestling. I'm fine with him being on the show in that authority figure way, or being some kind of catalyst in a story, but not every fucking story. He just seems like he's everywhere.
There's always a celebration as well. He's always got something to celebrate.
I know. Drinking out of that fucking cup that he won at Crown Jewel, and you're like, for fuck's sake, Shane. Oh my God. Like, we get it. You're the best in the world. Great stuff. You're booked as if you're the best in the world. Good on you. But, I mean, I understand that that's the shtick. That's the thing, is like, drill that in our brains. But because he's in every fucking segment, I get a bit tired of it.
Now, this is the Tangent podcast, so I don't mind going off topic very briefly. But what do you think of these rumors that Shane is going to be the guy to beat Kofi? I mean, it seems. I know who it's come from because I follow Sliced Wrestling. I don't know if you do. I absolutely love his account. It's brilliant, and I do think it came from there, and he certainly alludes to the fact as well. But the fact that so many people have picked up on it every single time I see, yeah. But yeah, if that happens, and the thing is, he jokes about it, saying that Shane's going to be the one to do it, but I would not put it past WWE to do it either, especially now.
Me either. So this is weird that you brought that up. So when I seen that it was going around, I was like, I know where this come from as well. I seen it there first, and I was like, wow, people are really gullible to believe whatever's written on the internet. But so I went to my brother, and I said, hey, did you see the rumor about Shane McMahon maybe winning the WWE Championship? No elaboration. I just said that, and he goes, yeah, I did see that. And he follows like everything, but he's involved just as much as I am, but more so he doesn't follow everything like Slice Rest. So he just thinks it's just, hey, it's a dirt sheet reporting. And he goes, and I go, what do you think about that? And he goes, fuck it, they should do it. And I was like, what are you talking about here? So before I even said anything, I was like, please explain what you mean. And he's like, nah, they should do it. Like, what are you talking about? He goes, why wouldn't they do it? They said the most people what you're talking about the most in WWE at the moment is Shane. And I was like, what? And he goes, we're talking about 3 things in WWE at the moment. Shane, the 24/7 championship, and on our end of the spectrum, the Iconics. That's all we talk about in WWE land between us. Is that those 3 things? He goes, you're not going to put the championship on R-Truth, the WWE championship. He said, why wouldn't you put the title on Shane? It's like, because it's fucking stupid, because it's Shane McMahon. He goes, Vince McMahon was the champion, and look how many eyes were on that. Look who you could build towards Shane McMahon. That person that takes it off Shane McMahon will be the greatest person that you could ever think, because no matter what, it's not Shane. And I was like, fuck, you actually make a little bit of sense. I still don't want it, but you make sense, and I understand it. So, that being said, I wouldn't hate it just for the fact that he's going to be in the storyline anyway. You may as well put him in the top storyline, working with the top people, and have someone beat him.
See, you've got me questioning why I've brought you on the podcast. I feel like I should have your brother sat in front of me right now. Because that is genius. I joke.
He's annoying.
He's fucking. But no, he's
7 years older than me. He's always right about everything,
But no, he actually has a valid point. Because how many people do you speak to in our circles who go, we need to go back to the Attitude Era, like I'm bored of that conversation. But when you look at the Attitude Era, Vince McMahon was a huge part of it. He was
the top heel.
Exactly.
If you really want to go there, he was the top heel. There was Austin, there was McMahon. McMahon was the top heel of that. Maybe not in every single part of the Attitude Era, but overall, McMahon was the top guy to take down.
And maybe that's what they're trying to do now with Shane. Maybe they're trying to, they've brought the 24/7 championship in. It replicates the hardcore title. They've got Shane appearing everywhere as the dominant McMahon. Maybe they're trying to replicate Vince. So
because I guess the Attitude Era wasn't in the internet age. So maybe there was a lot of people complaining about Vince, but we just didn't know because you only stuck to your circle. Yeah. And now we can see anyone's opinion that has a Twitter account. We can see anyone. And there just seems to be more people complaining. He's a heel. You're not liking him. I don't have a problem with heels being heels and me not liking them. It's just when they're everywhere on the show. But however, to my brother's point, if you're going to have him on the show, you may as well have him as the main guy to take down, and that person that takes him gets that ultimate babyface comeuppance.
See, before I talked to you, I would have gone, nah, fuck that. But yeah, he's made a believer out of me. So I'm now intrigued.
Yeah. I still don't personally want it, but I would understand it.
Yeah. Now, we spoke about the women's division and how the Wildcard Rule has affected that. Now, I don't know about you, but I love tag team wrestling. It always has a place in my heart, tag team wrestling, like just purely because of, the Edge and Christians, the Hardy Boys, the Dudley Boys, all that kind of stuff, TLCs, brilliant stuff.
Yep.
So when this Wildcard Rule comes in, it just, the Raw side of things with the tag team division has soured in the last year or two, where SmackDown Live was able to kind of maintain momentum all the time. Yes. But since the Wildcard Rule has come in, tag teams just aren't getting a look in. And I'm including the women in this as well. Because, we could probably talk about the Iconics for another hour.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, please.
Yes.
But I think, I'm saying that with the Iconics, they've got they're a special, side of it, because they, before the Wildcard Rule, were a Wildcard Rule. Like, those titles can be defended on any show.
Yeah.
But it's not being defended on any show. And because so much time is being taken up by solo guys jumping between each show. When was the last time we saw Asuka and Kairi Sane? I think it was like the middle of May.
Yeah.
So you've put this new team together. They've squashed a couple of teams. I think, in singles competition, I think they beat the Iconics in a couple of matches.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, they just, poof, gone. It just seems so bizarre. And that's just the women's side of things. But with the men, like, for 5 weeks, we didn't see the Raw Tag Team Champions, which, for somebody who loves tag wrestling as much as I do, it pissed me off. Like, why? What the tag teams, whatever. If AOP can't get TV time, I think they should. But if they can't, then it is what it is. But when your tag team champions can't get on TV, you've got a problem. And this extends to, obviously, the whole roster. There's so many people that are missing out, and I have actually made a list. This is the only set of research, kind of, that I've done. But I'm just going to reel just off a couple, because we've already mentioned a few. Just the people that are affected by it. Rusev, Nakamura, the Viking Raiders. I always go to call them the War Raiders, but whatever they're called this week. Liv Morgan, Buddy Murphy. I know Cedric Alexander is in the whole 24/7 thing, but he shouldn't be. So I'm including him in this. Dana Brooke, Natalia. Beth Phoenix was supposed to come back as, a mainstay. Like, at least she alluded to that. Obviously, now she's on NXT as a commentator, but, she might have had, a part to play in all of this as well. The Good Brothers, where have they gone? Finn Balor. He's the Intercontinental Champion, for fuck's sake. Like, I know storyline, you know, he was recovering from his, the 90,000 bumps he took in the Money in the Bank match.
Brutal.
And the fact he even has a spine after that is so impressive. But I didn't watch Super Showdown, so I missed Finn Balor on that show. So I'm relying on TV to give me my Finn Balor fix, and I'm not getting it.
Nope.
It's just, it pisses me off.
Oh,
so
me
many
too.
people are missing out, and
yeah,
it's not going to get any better. Now, can it be salvaged, Josh? This wildcard rule, or does it just have to be a case of we've tried it, it's time to move on?
Listen, anything can be salvaged in wrestling. I think no matter how ruined someone or something is, it can be salvaged. I don't want this to be salvaged. I don't want them to take other routes with this at all. But anything, to answer your question, anything can be salvaged, I think. But if I was running the ship right now, I'd be going, this ain't working. We fucked up. Let's end this. Whether that means going back to a brand split or just going and taking it away, it's up to them. But I there's no in between with this. But anything can be salvaged if you really put the time and effort into it.
It's like we said at the top of this whole thing. The roster is stacked. There's no way, like, not even just the wildcard rule, just everything across the board.
Yeah,
you've got the talent there to make anything work. You could use somebody with, really good mics. Like, look at Chris Jericho. Like, he made one word, it. He got it over.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean, I know that's just such an obscure little, reference point, but it's stuff like that.
Back to what I'm saying about how WWE rests on their laurels with the top stars too much. They took a chance on Chris Jericho in 2000. They allowed him to become the Chris Jericho he is in 2019. If they didn't take a chance on him then, he would have just been another number. He would have coasted along. He would have had a fine career. And, it would have been great. But if they didn't take the chance on him and allow him to really grow, he would have never been able to get the word it over in 2016 or whatever he did. So it is WWE not allowing everybody to get a chance, because WWE have the best wrestlers in the world. I think collectively, I think they have the best group of talent in the world.
Yeah, without doubt.
I really do believe that. Their roster can go up against anyone's, and it's going to be debated, but I think WWE has the best. But NXT, you look at NXT and they allow stars to flourish. They don't have the same, for the most part, you don't see the same talent on the show every week because it is only a 1 hour show. However, in the absence of those big stars, the other side of things is that you're getting chances to see other talent shine. Maybe they're not all the best and you're not seeing, like, look at someone like, who's on NXT? Like Xia Li or Aaliyah. Talent like those that aren't on the A shows. They're not on the takeovers. They're not even on the NXT tapings of the takeovers, but they're on the other side of things. They're in, like, the in-betweens. They're getting chances to shine. So then when those people go up, they can move into the takeover spots. And it's not just a random person going in there. It's someone that we see on NXT every week. So you're building talent. You're allowing them to get to the point where they can get anything over. On the main roster, it's the same people in the same spots all the time. And on the other side of things, you're not allowing other talent to shine.
Yeah, and that's the thing I love about NXT as well. I mean, Aaliyah and Vanessa Bourne, especially recently, they have a minute of TV time. But that's enough. And
it's all you need.
Exactly. And you've got, you don't want to overcrowd a show, because especially with Raw being 3 hours, the last thing you want is to not only digest 3 hours of Raw, but try and get your head around, so much stuff going on.
Yeah.
But, it doesn't have to be every week. And use the wildcard rule, to have somebody over on SmackDown who is a Raw superstar and just do a 1 minute thing with them. Just have them interact with a superstar backstage.
All you need is a little bit of time. Chris Jericho going back to Jericho, he would always ask, if you listen to his podcast, you watch his documentary DVDs, he says this. He said he would ask Eric Bischoff in WCW, he goes, "Can I talk tonight?" And Eric would go, "Yeah, but keep it short, keep it under 30 seconds. Jericho's like, "Perfect." And all he would say is, I want you to want me. And that would be his promo. But every week he would do something different. And that's all you need. You need 30 seconds just to say a few lines and people go, "What the fuck did you just say?" And then you kind of allude on that the next week and the next time. And then before you know it, you have a character.
Yeah. And again, with Jericho, like in WCW, the whole 1,000 holds. He was cutting that promo between I mean, they were focusing on him after the match, but then they were off talking about something else. He was still in the fucking ring, still delivering that promo. He didn't give a fuck. Like
Jericho, he would interview Dean Malenko, but Dean Malenko was just a cutout. And he would make that work. And if you actually watch those segments, none of those segments went for longer than a minute 30, 2 minutes. None of them. Because they would move on to the NWO, they would do other things. That's another topic for another day. But Jericho would make that work in a minute. And he'd go, "Okay, I'm going to interview him," and just say whatever works.
Yeah. It's hard to get on board with, and WWE is in such a funk at the moment. I actually switched off with Raw last week just to see if staying away from social media and all that kind of stuff would actually, let me just not even think about all the backstage stuff, any of that kind of stuff. And I actually ended up enjoying Raw, but it's so hard to switch off when me and you, obviously we've got podcasts and stuff, and we've got Twitter accounts that are, mostly, mine's obviously devoted to wrestling, and yours, is a, mixed bag across the board. But it's hard to switch off because you have to, you can praise it, but you also have to critique it, because what is the point in doing a podcast or having, this platform to voice your opinions about wrestling without being able to do that? So, I'm going to try it again with Raw this week and just see if I can just switch off just any form of... I managed it last week.
See, so this is what I really don't like about myself watching Raw. Not so much SmackDown, but SmackDown to a degree as well, because it's not a perfect show, but I have to do something else while I'm watching Raw. I have 2 monitors set up in front of me at the moment. I have my computer, which I watch Raw on, and then I have my PlayStation set up on here, and I'll usually play my PlayStation as Raw's on and just, look when I need to. Which is sad, because it used to be I would not be able to play my PlayStation while watching Raw, because I'd just have it on pause the entire time because I'd be watching Raw. But now it's just more so I pause that when it's necessary, which is a shame, because I don't want it to be like that at all. I don't. I know a lot of people say, like, no one wants it to be good. I genuinely want it to be good, and I praise shit when it's good. Even in the bad Raws, I always extract something, and I'm like, this was really, really good, though. More of this, please. Like, the 24/7 title, I think, is really fun. I just, purely from an entertainment standpoint, you don't have to think about it. It's fun TV, and I'm enjoying that.
That on my weekly stuff, that is just a consistent highlight from episode 1 through to, what will episode 10 be this week? It's going to be on there because you just guarantee just to have something that exactly. You can switch off and just watch it and be entertained by it.
Truth is fantastic.
I want to say people have slept on R-Truth for the majority of his career, but I think people forget about he's just a genuinely funny guy. Like,
the man doesn't age.
No, he looks the same age as he did as when he was K-Quick.
Yeah, he stays in his lane. He knows his spot, and he goes, "I'm going to be the best in this lane." And it's like, yeah, okay, you've got to expand and do other things, but he knows what his role is, and he just goes, "I'm going 100%, 110% him." I think him and Mella are just click, and it's weird because you wouldn't think they'd click.
And that's one of the only things I can be grateful that the Mixed Match Challenge exists, because we wouldn't have that otherwise.
Hey, I will
So
take no hate on the mixed match challenge. I love the mixed match challenge because it was just silly. Every week you had Charlotte twerking and then you had the people dancing and you're like, what the fuck is this? This is funny. I laughed at it. It was funny to me. It wasn't about good wrestling. It was just about having a laugh at like, why are these people doing the worm? Like, I don't know.
it was different. It was certainly different.
I can see the look on your face right now. You're like, this guy is a fucking idiot.
I could see the benefits and the good side of it. I just don't like it. It's
absolute trash. Like, why would you have them go for the number 30 spot and you have R-Truth and Carmella versus Alicia Fox and Jinder Mahal? I don't see that like too great on a pay-per-view, but I mean, you know, for what it was, again, I just take things at face value, I guess. I don't know.
Well, saying that, it is something you can. I mean, I switched off, but I think that was just by.
There's a lot of content. I don't blame you.
Yeah. So as we start to wind things down a little bit, it's as we've been speaking, obviously, my mind goes off and wanders and does all that kind of stuff. Tangent podcast. The ratings. I don't want to briefly just touch on it. Now, coming into the wildcard rule, it was, I think, a lot of people could see it, and I'm one of those people. It was a desperate plea, I think, to try and boost ratings, as we said earlier on. At this point, where I think the Raw just gone was the lowest non-holiday Raw viewership that they've had in history. Mm-hmm. And I, to be honest, I don't really look into ratings that much, but they do count for something. If we didn't have this wildcard rule, would the ratings still be the same? Would it mirror? So if you had if we Back to the Future this and you had two timelines, separate timelines running in an adjacent line, one is the wildcard rule and one it never happened, would the ratings be the same?
Yes, because I don't think. Okay, honest to God, how do you watch a lot of your shows? Netflix? Is that how you keep up with, or just online streaming? Is that how you keep up with a lot of TV?
More or less, yeah.
What people aren't watching TV anymore. They're watching when they want to watch, whether that's recorded, whether that's finding something online, whether that's watching highlights on YouTube. Whatever it may be, people are watching stuff when they want to watch it, not when they're told to watch it. Less and less people are watching television in 2019 than they were in 1999. Yes, I understand the ratings could probably be better, but I don't think you would see that much of a significant increase in viewership because people are watching when they want to watch. I think if you put Raw or SmackDown on the WWE Network every single week, you'd have more viewership than you would on the USA Network.
Yeah, and I could, because now I can't even remember the last time I actually sat down and watched something live, unless it's football.
The only thing I do is
sport.
wrestling.
And even then, it's just pay-per-views. I don't watch Raw or SmackDown live, and even when I do have the opportunity to watch Raw or SmackDown live, I watch it. I at least wait 20, 30 minutes into the show so I can at least fast forward some of it, because I just don't.
We watch when we want to watch. We don't get told. No one likes getting told what to do and when to watch something. So we just watch it when we want to watch. Wrestling is the only thing that I watch at a specific time every week. Other than that, I'm binge watching, 13 Reasons Why on Netflix in 2 days like a madman.
So last thing before we shut this down. And I want to end it on a positive note, or at least attempt to. And I know we've, talked about, a couple of, ways that we can make the wildcard rule better. But if you were given creative reins for the next month, and they said to you, make this fucking wildcard rule work or you're out of here. So your job depends on it. What would you do?
Well,
Because obviously lots of people in WWE listen to this podcast, so there's a lot of pressure on you right
obviously.
now.
Vince, buddy, we know we're listening. Listen, Vince, and Shane, we know we're booking your WWE title run now. No, so it's hard to say. If I was to make the wildcard rule work, I think it would be using a different variety of people. Maybe having one top star, like a Roman or whoever, pop over, but then utilizing some other mid-card talent like Ricochet and Andrade, and list goes on. Just a variety of talents every week, so you're not seeing the same person. And at least then, with the wildcard rule, even though you've got people from Raw and SmackDown coming over on each other's show every week, you have a sense of special about it because, oh my God, Ricochet's on SmackDown this week. Oh my God, Braun Strowman's on SmackDown this week, or, list goes on and on. Just a variety and a little bit of a shake of the people that aren't necessarily within a story to enhance something else on the other show. I take that approach to it, but I don't know if a month is enough time.
I'm just not willing to give it more than a month. I think a month is enough.
No joke. Okay, that's fair, to be honest. Maybe I'd bring back the mixed match challenge and have it on Raw and SmackDown every week.
Oh, please don't do that. Don't do that to me. I'm not even going to release this now. You've offended me. This is just a waste of time. This is just a waste of time. Just two dudes chatting wrestling. And who's going to hear it? Nobody.
Who would be your mixed match challenge partner, huh?
Ooh. We could talk for another half an hour about the mixed match challenge if you want.
Happily.
But it is 20 past midnight where I am. So I'm on the back nine. I'm on the 17th hole right now, and I'm looking at the 19th hole, looking for a beer. Except the beer in this case is my bed.
My breakfast is calling me too, so don't worry.
See, now I just want breakfast.
Yeah, eggs and bacon and a nice hot coffee. Oh yeah, that's scrambled eggs. That's what I'm feeling today. Maybe an omelet. I don't know. I'm hungry. You can tell.
you can't do this to me just as I'm about to go to bed. You can't do this to me. But there you go. That was the first episode of DOW Tag Topics, and I think it was quite enjoyable. Do you, Josh?
I liked it. I'll happily come back on again. You know me.
Hey, you've got an open invitation whenever.
I'll be here every week to talk about the Mixed Match Challenge. I'll go week by week of a rundown, like a nice review of each episode.
Fuck it. You can just come on as a guest host. You can half my workload. I'm more than happy for you to take that off me. So, I mean, listeners, if you've got any thoughts on the wildcard rule, or, you can tell us what you think about anything that we've spoke about, or if you've got any other opinions, you can get in touch with me, where you always find me on Twitter at DitsOnWrestling and on the podcast. But Josh, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at JoshRobinson00. Always chat with me. I'm always open to talking. I'm fairly nice. I don't bite. You can find my podcast, Wrestling Reverb, on Brainbuster Radio every single Friday. Find Diving In with Josh every single Tuesday. I'm on Twitch. I'm on YouTube. I'm everywhere. I'm doing something at all times. So come chat with me all the time, because I'm always down. It doesn't even have to be about wrestling. I'll talk about anything.
And that's why you've got the Diving In with Josh podcast as well.
Yeah.
It doesn't always have to be about wrestling. Just throwing it out there, I was a guest on there last week. So if anyone wants to check that out, then by all means, go
very
for
good
it.
Guest. It was very, very fun. That's how it was our first conversation. I was like, This dude's pretty cool.
No, massive thank you for coming on.
No problem.
As a first guest, I couldn't have landed with anybody better. I think we've got I think we gel.
Yeah, we do.
It's nice. We had a nice time.
Yes, we do.
But no, thank you very much for coming on, and I'm sure I will see you on here, and everyone will hear you on here in the very near future.
Very much so. Thank you.
But thank you very much. Well, that was a lot of fun, wasn't it? Very, very happy to have Josh on as my first guest on DOW Tag Topics, and my first guest just in general on this podcast. Really enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed it too. But that is it for today. I won't keep you any longer. If you want to check me out on my weekly podcast or the DOW Power Rankings that are currently going on, you can get me on Apple Podcasts, you can get me on Spotify, you can get me on Stitcher, Spreaker as part of the SLTD Podcast Network, and as I always say, at some point you will get me on the old YouTube. At some point I will get around to doing that, but there's only 7 days in a week. There's not enough days for me to do what I want to do. But that is it. Hope you enjoyed it. There will be more coming. A couple of guests are already lined up to come back on. Of course, Josh has an open invitation. He will return at some point. Plenty of topics to talk about. Plenty of topics. But until next time, thanks for coming. Thanks for checking out the podcast. As always, greatly appreciated. Cover me. I am done.